In northern Syria, a newborn girl was rescued from the rubble of her home and is now being treated in hospital. A relative says the baby's umbilical cord was still attached to her mother when she was found and is believed to be the sole survivor from her family.
Relatives found the baby girl tied by an umbilical cord to her mother, who sadly died in the tragedy. The infant is the sole survivor of her immediate family after a building collapsed in a small Syrian town near the Turkish border.
We pulled out the mother, then we heard a sound and we thought it was the father, but it was a newborn girl that was born during the accident. We cut the cord and she was taken to hospital. 7 people from one family, the father, mother and children, all died, except the girl that was born in the accident.
The baby's temperature had dropped and she'd suffered bruises, but thankfully she's in a stable condition. Doctors say the mother would have been conscious during the birth but died soon after.
In another Syrian village, this young girl comforted her sibling while waiting for rescuers to free them. Her father tells CNN the whole family survived, even though they'd been buried beneath the rubble for hours.
Little Raghed has lost her mother. Both her siblings too, all 3 killed by a massive earthquake that leveled her home. This was Raghed just a few hours before, rushed to safety after she was pulled out of the rubble, her clothes stained with blood. The toddler will be cared for by her uncle, while her father recovers in hospital from his wounds, activists say. This is a place all too familiar with heartbreak. Devastated by nearly 12 years of war, there was little left to cope with yet another catastrophe. Here, it's Syria's supporters, the patrons of the conflict, Russia and Iran, offering aid. Moscow's troops are supporting search and recovery efforts, and President Putin has vowed to send more help. But disaster knows no politics. Here, families are desperate for news, too.
And an 8-year-old boy trapped for 32 hours was saved too. These ordeals are repeated in street after street. Rescuers know they can't reach everyone, and the death toll will surge in the days and weeks ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm here with Connor, who is one of the volunteers helping with this donation drive. Connor, talk us through what has been the reaction so far.
Wow, so the reaction has been overwhelming. We put the call out yesterday on social media and it's just been amazing. We've had truckloads of donations. We've had people, traffic jams out the front of people just trying to come and give goods, and it's just been fantastic.
I can't believe it. This container was set up only a short time ago, and look how quick it's filling up. What are you asking for?
Okay, so basically right now in Turkey it's winter, and of course people are scared to go into their houses, right? So they're sleeping out in the streets. The elderly and the young, unfortunately, are losing their lives. So we're trying to help out with sleeping bags, pillows, blankets and tents. That's what we're asking for right now.
Now this area behind me is where volunteers from across Turkey, like doctors, firefighters, translators and teachers, have been signing up to help in crucial rescue operations. Now, many of them have already received basic AFA training, and they're just waiting to know when they're going to board their flights and where they'll be deployed to.
I am an English teacher, and I wanted to be a volunteer because there are so many people, they need help, and I thought that as a teacher, as a young woman, I can help them and I can support them, aspects of psychologically and physically also.
As a tour guide, we can speak, not only me, all of us, we can speak more than 250 languages. So there are international teams coming to area to help the people for research, for medical service, but there will be a language problem over there. So we will be assisting them between local people and the teams.
As desperate rescue operations continue, Turkey's president has declared a 3-month state of emergency in 10 regions across the country. Around 8,000 people have now been pulled from the rubble, but exactly how many are still trapped is unknown because the scale of the disaster is so widespread. Time is fast running out for survivors, with freezing conditions setting in. But among the devastation, flickers of hope.
In Idlib province, our cameras captured a young boy being rescued from the rubble after being buried for almost a day. Our global security editor Rohit Katru reports.
The search is now for the dead as well as the living. Rescue workers are hopeful, and in the rubble there are signs of life. A closer look, then a call for help. There's someone down there. Under the light of their head torches, the face of a boy is revealed. He's lying still, and the search teams fear the worst, until they see the flicker of his eyes, the shift of his head. Ropes and cables are brought in, and he's lifted from the debris to safety. He looks around, searching for his loved ones as he's taken to hospital.
Ahead of the elections, Nigeria's economy is facing two major crises. The first, a cash shortage sparked by the replacement of paper notes with newly redesigned ones as the nation hopes to curb money laundering. In spite of a January 31st deadline, banks don't have enough new currency to swap for the old notes which residents are handing in. A crisis which has left people cashless and has forced businesses to close.
The ATMs are not working. Even when you walk into the bank, they will tell you they are not giving that money, that they don't have the cash, the new notes. So it seems as if this is the only bank that is dispensing money.
This is what we see every day, and I have to bring my children to school here every day, and this is what happens.
Frustrations are growing across the country, especially since the annual inflation rose over 21% at the turn of the year.
The University of Benin students block a section of the Benin-Lagos Road just outside the main campus gates at Ugbowo. The reason for the protest is an incident which occurred on Thursday afternoon at an ATM point within the school's premises when some persons alleged to be soldiers reportedly asked the students to give way for them to use the machine.
A girl with her phone was holding her phone, and the next thing they felt, haven't given them the chance to make withdrawals. She was videoing them. On that note, they took the phone and they smashed the phone. And they started embarrassing most of the students that were there. Now, when these things kept happening, the girl actually ran to the security department. They called the female soldier to slap her. The female soldier slapped her. Then she ran to the security department to get coverage and to get shelter. Getting there, the soldier men pursued her there. They even slapped the chief security officer of University of Benin.
The SUG president explains that the afternoon incident was only part of the attack, as more allegedly followed at night, upon staff at the fire service unit corroborate.
At about after 12 to 1 o'clock, we got an update. We saw and we heard of spontaneous shooting, radical shooting in the main gate. They entered, the school gate was already locked. How they entered is what we don't know. We can't tell till now.
Long cutlass or dagger, long one like this, the one they use. They use that one. They won't cut me. I use this and block. That is the one for this place. I used to block it. The other one you do for me. No.
Scenes of destruction run from the security building, where window panes and security cameras are smashed, and within the school's premises, where vehicles were also damaged.
Yesterday, when we were about to close, got to the gate here, found out there was blockage. There was no way to go out. And so, eventually I have to park my car here. But this morning when I got here, I found it damaged.
The students appeal that relevant authorities look into the matter.
We have been peace-loving, we are still peace-loving. We are only appealing to whoever authority concerned to ensure that our safety in this Federal University of Benin is guaranteed.
The students eventually cleared the road for traffic to flow, but maintained they would not give up on seeking justice and a guarantee of their safety.
A staff with the fire service unit of the University of Benin, Billy Oguan, who witnessed how the incident started and was also inflicted injuries on his left eye by one of the uniformed men before the midnight attack, gave insight on how it all started.
That should be at about 3 p.m. in the afternoon. We were here when we heard a kind of loud voice from the bank axis. Just when I picked, I discovered it was a group of soldiers chasing just one civilian. So when in the afternoon, so when he ran towards us for cover, the soldiers who were trying to like intercept to know what actually the problem is, but they didn't give us that time. So they started lynching anger and all manner of assault on anybody, be you a staff, be you a student, be you a visitor in the community.
So it was in the process you were
Yes, it was in the process. One of the soldiers blew through a punch on me, directly on my left eyes.
During the attack, window glasses at the main security post of the University of Benin were shattered, while other valuables in the building were also touched. Among the cars vandalized, it was gathered, belonged to some members of staff, students, visitors, and the university authority. Mr. Billy Oguan and this student, who simply identified himself as Major, spoke on the attack.
They had to go back, the soldiers, to kind of reinforce. And this time around when they came, that should be like a few minutes to 12. When they came, they did not come through the main entrance gate. They came through, they scaled through the fence. And they were in troops, dressed in uniform, with armed, of different kind of arm, weapon, machetes, wood and all of that. So they started from the UDSS axis. That was where they started destroying cars and obtaining those POS vendors. Who, yes.
I mean, they were still working POS vendors?
No, they usually come. They will sleep over to ensure they get cash for their businesses. So they invaded a lot of them, destroyed a lot of cars, and as you can see for yourself.
Why would you even do this? Soldiers are supposed to protect lives and properties. Why are you destroying properties? Properties have been destroyed, glasses have been destroyed. At what million?
There is palpable tension here, like you can see, at the main campus of the University of Benin, occasioned by the incident which has left several vehicles and other valuables touched at the main campus of the University of Benin. Only time will tell the outcome of this development. From the main campus of the University of Benin, Benedict Okati.
I mean, destroy cars. I mean, come to school by 2 a.m. Destroy cars, then yeah, 2 a.m. Now they come to school yesterday. By 2 a.m.
You guys being serious? What's going on?
The soldiers were said to have laid siege on the Ugbo campus of the University of Benin at about 12 a.m. of this Friday and gained access into the university through the perimeter fence.
They came around 12 at the midnight yesterday. We were on duty, and most of us, University of Benin security, were also on duty. Some of them, when I see the way they prepare, they come with very strong ammunitions. They hide to see their demonstration. As we are speaking, they destroyed about 35 vehicles, destroyed the windscreen, even caught some of our security men with arcs and goggles. After they done whatever they did, they start shooting gun rapidly in the head. So that makes the security and other, even people are wellness, the POS, the ATM, this thing, also be some of them.
A visit to the main gates of the university reveals that the soldiers ransacked the security office and inflicted injuries on the officers on night duty who are now receiving medical attention at the UBTH.
Some residents of Abeokuta have staged a protest against what they called unnecessary hardship created by the government through the Central Bank of Nigeria. The angry protesters who were unable to withdraw cash from banks to attend to their daily needs attacked banks and blocked major roads. They say they have deposited all old Naira notes with the banks and are unable to get cash to take care of their family. They say the situation is becoming unbearable.
As I am now, I'm selling food. I'm selling Indomie. My customers are paying me in transfers. They are sending 200 Naira, they are selling 100 Naira, they are sending 500. How am I going to collect the money? How am I going to grow in my business? See the bike man, there's no money to give them.
At the end of the day, you are trying to play a blame game on us. If you want to change the money, at least everything has a due process. The federal government and the CBN, they should be very careful. Look at what happened in Ibadan the day before yesterday. So many citizens die over there. Must we die? Must we survive in this country before we enjoy everything?
After the mild protest, normalcy has returned to the streets of Abeokuta, Ogun State's capital, but people now, they are unable to get their cash from all these banks that are here in the state's capital. How this will continue in the next few days is unknown, but it is expected that the federal government and security agency will find something to do in ensuring that this situation get desired attention so that Nigerians will have access to their money, and of course there will be peace in the state and across the country.
Hundreds of residents of Ondo comprising youth staged a peaceful protest along Ilesha-Owo-Benin Expressway to register their displeasure over the scarcity of naira notes and petrol. The protesters blocked the road, thereby causing gridlock. Many travelers were stranded for several hours. Some of the protesters said the hardship in the country is alarming.
We are dealing with the issue of fuel. Then the CBN governor came with policy that will take us away, that will take our money away from us. Now you have money, you cannot use it. You have money, you cannot get it. You have money inside the bank. How many traders are using the cashless or POS in this Akure?
Just here to pass a message to let the government know that we are not comfortable and we need them to do the needful. Whatever it is they need to do, they should do it fast. The people are suffering, the people are really not comfortable, and we need them to do whatever it is needed to do.
We want the availability of fuel, and we want the availability of cash. We can go out, but most of our fathers and our mothers that are aged, they cannot leave their house. They are not used to the modern technology. We can still do transfer, but they cannot do transfer.
They vowed to continue with the protest till Friday. From Akure, the Ondo State capital, Jonah Omowa reporting.
The motion brought by 3 governors of Kogi, Kaduna and Zamfara states is seeking an order of interim injunction restraining the federal government through the Central Bank of Nigeria or the commercial banks from suspending or determining or ending on February 10, 2023, the time frame with which the now older version of 200 naira, 500 naira and 1000 naira denominations of the naira may no longer be legal tender pending the hearing and determination of their motion on notice for interlocutory injunction. Counsel to the plaintiff, Abdul Karim Mustafa SAN, urges the Apex Court to grant the application in the interest of justice and the well-being of Nigeria. He stated that the policy of the federal government had led to an excruciating situation that is almost leading to anarchy in the land. Mustafa SAN further urges that unless the Supreme Court intervenes, the situation will lead to anarchy because most banks are already closing operations. Delivering ruling in the motion, Justice Okoro holds that after a careful consideration of the motion ex parte, the application is granted as prayed. He then ordered federal government through the Central Bank of Nigeria or the commercial banks from banning the use of old naira notes on February 10, 2023. Pending determination of the application. Counsel in the matter briefed press after the ruling.
We invoked the original jurisdiction of Supreme Court. When there's a dispute between the state government and federal government, it's one of the few occasions where Supreme Court has the original jurisdiction. So we invoked the powers of the Supreme Court to hear this application. The reason for it is that as well-intentioned as this policy of federal government already designed, is working hardship all over the country. As we can all see, banks are being harassed, Nigerians are suffering needlessly, especially the downtrodden. Those in the urban areas, they're having problem, but it's more excruciating at the rural area. So these 3 state governments, Kaduna, Zamfara and Kogi, deem it fit for us to invoke the powers of Supreme Court to intervene. And the Supreme Court has not just the final court, but a court of policy in its considered ruling, saw merits in our application and restrained the federal government and by extension the Central Bank of Nigeria. The old note that we all have is still a legal tender beyond the 10th of February that the federal government said is no longer with legal tender. So the old note, as we speak, the Supreme Court has spoken, and Supreme Court is the last court, is the final court, is the Apex Court. It has said that 10th of February is no longer operative positions.
The matter has been adjourned to February 15, 2023 for hearing on the substantive suit.
nation of Haiti is moving closer to the brink of collapse. Since early January, the country was left without a single elected official, leaving heavily armed gangs to be in control. Today, much of the capital, Port-au-Prince, is under the control of gangs that have been targeting police, and Haitians are living in fear and chaos. At a funeral in Port-au-Prince, the families of 3 fallen police officers grieved as their colleagues solemnly saluted their flag-draped coffins. In the last month, gangs have killed nearly 20 officers. Mourners lamented the lives lost and the turmoil that has engulfed the country.
Our police officers are being slain again. We will not accept that bandits rule and that they say that the government is theirs.
Elsewhere in the capital, rage. Armed protesters, some dressed in police gear, set fires in the streets, broke through the gates of the airport, and lowered the flags to half-staff to mark the deaths.
There has to be a revolution. There has to be a bloodbath. All these policemen have been killed, and the Prime Minister has not reacted.
Violent protests have persisted for months, and many Haitians are angry that the government can't keep them safe.
We've been suffering for a long time. People are dying of bullets. My mother, my child, and my sister. We will not be able to continue.
The term of Prime Minister Ariel Henry, who was appointed to office, expired February 2022, but he has yet to schedule new elections.
No one voted for him. He was not elected. He has no legitimacy. He has no right. Ariel Henry is not the president.
With no president, no legislative quorum, and the High Court dysfunctional, lawlessness reigns. The UN estimates that gangs control more than half of Port-au-Prince. Late last year, the UN imposed sanctions on one of the most powerful gang leaders, Jimmy Cherizier, a former police officer known as Barbecue. He's accused of numerous atrocities, including massacres and sexual violence. But Cherizier considers himself the lesser evil.
You and your country, if you were living in these conditions, if you saw the conditions in which our people are living in, wouldn't you revolt?
Haiti and the UN have called for international peacekeepers to bolster the country's beleaguered police force.
It is our obligation to act fast. If we overcome the gangs, we will restore order and peace.
Earlier, I spoke with Jacqueline Charles, who is the Miami Herald's Caribbean correspondent. I asked her what she saw on her recent trip to Haiti.
This time I'm in Port-au-Prince. I go as part of an embed with the United States, and it is chaos. It's protests, and it's police who are protesting, and they're armed. They are putting up barricades. You're blocking roads. We were coming right off of the latest killings of police officers. There have been 14 just in the month of January, 78, according to a local human rights group, since July, when interim Prime Minister Ariel Henry came to power. So, you know, police officers were enraged, but they were joined in these protests also by fired cops as well as gang members, according to sources who I spoke to. So all of that just tells you about the volatility of this country, that 1 minute, you know, you could be walking into the city and enjoying beautiful jazz, and then the next minute the streets are blowing up, because those protests were also in the north, the very places where I was just walking freely just a few days earlier.
With Move-In Day for local migrants. It's happening right now in an old Chicago public school building.
Let's get straight to Nate Rogers, who is live for us on the south side this afternoon. Nate?
Yeah, guys, that's right. In fact, Chicago police, as you can see right behind me, they've been here monitoring the scene after a small group of protesters tried to block migrants from moving in earlier today. Migrants apparently from Venezuela will be temporarily housed here at the former Wadsworth Elementary School. So far, we've seen at least 3 busloads of people carrying bikes, laundry baskets, and duffel bags into the building since this morning. Now, this comes as more than 5,000 immigrants have been bused to Chicago since last year. Over the last several weeks, Woodlawn residents have expressed concerns about the move. 20th Ward Alderman Jeanette Taylor saying, although we're a sanctuary city, the neighborhood is already grappling with high crime, gentrification, and significant homelessness. Taylor says she's been blindsided by the mayor's office on specific plans, and residents in this ward have many questions. How many migrants is it at Wadsworth? They've moved in this morning?
You would have to ask the mayor and the commissioner at DFSS, because I haven't gotten any of that information. The fifth floor, Mayor Lori Lightfoot nor her team are coordinating with me. I've had a couple of meetings with them where she wasn't at the meeting, it was our commissioner, and nobody really gives us answers. So we've had 3 community meetings that I've had to push them on, and in those meetings, we don't get the answers.
Yeah, hi there, Stephen, Lori, and some of them are not happy about it at all. In fact, there was a meeting here tonight here on City Island, and many of the folks here, they are telling us tonight, they're like, look, this is not a case of not in my backyard. Instead, what they say is they want to be able to help the migrants, but the location out here, they say, is not appropriate.
You guys work for us. Correct, Mundo. And if you want to put something in our community, you need permission from us. Thank you.
Some residents of City Island in the Bronx expressing their anger to a city official over massive tents being built in the parking lot at nearby Orchard Beach. The tents will house about 1,000 migrants. They will be screened, tested for COVID, and provided with health care and legal assistance. Emergency Management Commissioner Zach Iskell taking a lot of heat from residents at a meeting tonight.
They are getting the finest medical care providers. New York City residents aren't getting the finest medical care.
Other residents are concerned about safety and want specifics about the city's security plans. Once completed, the tents will look like this. Single adult migrants will be housed in the climate-controlled tents for up to 4 days.
We will do everything we can to ensure your security, as well as the people who we are caring for who are coming to New York seeking asylum.
We didn't get any answers on security. None. All we got was it's above his pay grade. Send somebody who can give us answers.
I know we're a sanctuary city, but we can't sustain all of this. It's a little bit much.
Still others are concerned that Orchard Beach is too remote of a location, without subway access, limited bus service for migrants, and it is also in a flood zone.
These people deserve to be treated properly, and that putting them at Orchard Beach in an isolated place that gets flooded is not a good place to do it.
By the way, the official who was at this meeting tonight, and believe you me, he took a beating from some of these residents here tonight. He did say, and he is the commissioner of the city's Department of Emergency Management, he did say the National Guard is being brought in to help out with security.
In despair, visibly exhausted, dozens of migrants refusing to leave this hotel in Midtown Manhattan. This Venezuelan man saying he's tired and cold, questioning if this is the harsh reality of the American dream.
The cops are here. We need people at the Watson right now.
Dozens of police mobilized in an effort to control the peace, as the irritated and tired migrant men demanded to be allowed back into the hotel. The mayor's office contends the NYPD only responded after individuals who were not asylum seekers assigned to the Watson Hotel rushed in and tried to enter.
Y hay que caminar como una cuadra y media para irse a duchar. No hay agua caliente. Las camas son camillas de emergencia.
The New York City mayor's office last weekend began to relocate single male migrants to a new relief center at the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal in Red Hook. According to a statement from Fabian Levy, press secretary for New York City Mayor Eric Adams, the transition occurred to make more room in the hotel for asylum-seeking families with children. It went on to say the facilities at Brooklyn Cruise Terminal will provide the same services as every other humanitarian relief center in the city, and the scheduled relocations to Brooklyn Cruise Terminal this weekend took place as planned.
This right here is just pure negligence and anti-immigrant sentiment.
Mutual aid activist Yahaira, who asked we not use her last name over fear of retaliation from anti-immigrant groups, says the city has enough rent-stabilized apartments to house the newly arrived migrants and homeless in the city.
There's 88,000 rent-stabilized apartments available and 60,000 unhoused folks in homeless shelters. So there's more vacant apartments, rent-stabilized vacant apartments available than unhoused folks in New York City. We don't understand why those apartments are not being released to migrants.
Most men who had already been relocated to the new facility refused to return. Instead, camped out the night on makeshift tents outside the hotel. But NYPD cleared the tents in the morning. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has criticized the Biden administration, saying the president's response to the border crisis hasn't been sufficient. Axel Turcios, Scripps News, New York City.
The three main armed movements that make up the coordination of Azawad movement march on Wednesday in Kidal, a northeastern Malian town they have controlled militarily since 2013. The group includes National Movement for the Liberation of Azawad, the Arab Movement of Azawad, and the High Council for the Unity of Azawad. In concrete terms, the new leadership of the ex-rebels in the north are expecting to put more pressure to the Malian government. A few months ago, the members of the new alliance suspended their participation in the decision-making bodies of the Algiers peace agreement, accusing the Malian state of backing out of the agreement. The coordination of Azawad movements, a predominantly Tuareg alliance that fought the state for years before signing the peace deal in Algiers in 2015, blamed the ruling military junta for foot dragging. The new movement is already planning, with other armed groups involved in the peace deal process, to launch a vast operation to secure the populations of northern Mali.